The Greenskins. They have some pretty interesting campaign mechanics, but the one they all share is the WA function. It's pretty much a bounty you put out on someone. After you've done enough fights, your crew gets pretty stabby, and you can poke at someone and say, hey, you, if I kill you in this many turns, I get this big global bonus for my entire faction. They're a fun campaign. They're a mix of raiding and empire building. Yeah, they're a pretty good mix. You do take territories, and you do want to build them up a little bit, but you don't play defensive. Most of your economy comes from breaking other people's stuff. It's really hard to have a self-sustaining greenskin economy. I think they're well executed. Very fun campaign. I will say it's a bit on the easier side, unless you play Skarsnik. Skarsnik is hard as hell. But the other four are pretty easy. They're snowballs, so I guess if you lose early, you'll be in big trouble. But you can just hit restart on campaign. And once you get rolling, you won't stop rolling, you won't stop rolling, and you won't stop rolling. Back to the bed, hit the ground running. Didn't make sense not to play for fun. Wait, sorry about that. Grab the Paunch. He has the DLC, but he does have one of the more unique campaigns with his Grom's Brew or whatever, and he can make goblins into pretty much chosen little combatants, so that's kind of fun. Personally, I think Warzag is my favorite. That's just because I love the dancing man. Greenskins in multiplayer can struggle a little bit. Domination mode, they can do okay because they can rush the points, throw body after body at them, or they can mix in some elite infantry. Their low leadership issues does make it hard for them to hold the point for a long amount of time, but they are okay. They're a diverse roster, so they kind of have an answer to every situation if you build a diverse build. In land battles, currently they are struggling a little bit. Skirmish Cav is not doing as well. It's fine. It's okay. But it did carry them through a game, too. And Skirmish Cav isn't doing as well in ultra unit size, I have noticed. And their Lord options are currently pretty limited. Now, you do have a wide roster, but really you keep seeing Grom the Paunch because he's the only one who can resist sniping attempts and has regeneration. The only other one that can do that is the Goblin Great Shaman, and the Lore of the Little Wa is currently pretty bad. So you don't see a lot of him. It's mostly just Grombus Prime. These are a fun faction. I highly recommend the Greenskins for fun-wise, but they currently suffer. If you're playing as the Greenskins, you have a solid infantry core. Goblins, if you pop Wa on them, which, is Wa is a passive ability you get by fighting in melee combat for the Greenskins, so you will probably get it in a game. Goblins can trade effectively with Wa. Then Orc Boys are decent mid-tier infantry, and high-tier Black Orcs are actually quite nice. Good lads, high health pool, immune to psychology, high armor on a roster that isn't used to that. Orc Biggins can also trade well. Overall, the Greenskin infantry is solid. It's really solid. They suffer in their cavalry department. They have a bunch of cheap cav that does okay, but it is cheap cav, and their higher tier cav is utterly worthless. So Greenskins can have a hard time winning a straight up cavalry engagement. They mostly need to rely on skirmishing down the enemy cavalry until it's so low they can take advantage of it. Their monsters are across the board low leadership, except for the Rogue Idol that is literally unbreakable. But they are useful. If you keep them as a part of your horde and use them to bunker bust the front line, they can do excellently, especially after River Trolls got some buffs. Stone Trolls have always been good. And I have seen a resurgence of regular Trolls, even though their leadership is dog shit. Squigs have also gotten pretty big buffs coming to Warhammer 3. They are quite useful to chuck in on any flank. Their armor piercing and 350 price point will make them trade effectively even with cavalry. Skirmish Cav is still pretty good. I would recommend 2 Spider Riders in any build just for poison on each flank. Poison in general is good, and then when they run out of ammo, they can just serve as a dog unit to chase off anything you've routed at that point. And the most underrated part of the Greenskin roster, in my opinion, is the missile infantry. Cheap goblins, in mass, can do pretty well. Orc Auror Boys are a nice archer piece. They do a good amount of damage, but also they are decent melee combatants, so they can usually fend off fell bats or dogs on their own, especially the Savage Orc Auror Boys. Yeah, they're good. Their archers are good. I would always recommend taking a few in almost any matchup. Their artillery is dog shit. Doomdiver catapults are interesting in some cheese snipe builds, and the Hammer of Gork is good into low leadership factions, but overall I think you should just avoid the artillery in general. This is a rush faction, so you're probably going to leave it on its own. Yeah, that would be the strength for the Greenskins. Infantry, missile infantry, and cheap cav, while their weaknesses are heavy cav and artillery. If you're playing against the Greenskins, they are in general a low armor and in general low leadership faction, so any spells that decrease leadership are quite effective. High weapon strength heavy cavalry is quite effective. You don't really need to pay for armor piercing or anti-large. You can if you want to, but you don't need to. So Greenskins don't like heavy cav, Greenskins don't like leadership nuking, and Greenskins are exceptionally susceptible to Lord sniping. The Lore of Death is incredible versus them. Spirit Leech is very nice in general. Doom and Darkness can also mess with them pretty hard. The Lore of Slaanesh, if you're playing Slaanesh or Warriors of Chaos, is also fine. Has a couple Rampage or Net spells that can lock down the Greenskin Lord in time for you to kill them. So the Lord Snipe is pretty critical in taking out a Greenskin force. Other than that, ignoring their Skirmish Cav, don't take the bait. I mean, it sucks to let Skirmish Cav shoot you all game, but I have found that chasing around the Skirmish Cav, by the time you catch them, the game is won or lost. So unless you have dog units, I guess, you could send dogs after them maybe, because that's not terrible. But if you send like a Knights of the Blazing Sun, 1,200 gold Cav unit chasing a Spider Rider that's 475 around the map for most of the game, the Greenskins are winning that trade. So largely what you want to do is ignore the Skirmish Cav, snipe out the Lord, destroy the front line with some cycle charging, and win the game from there. Skirmish Cav in the end will run out of ammunition, and without a Lord and without a front line, they will wither and die. It's usually how you want to deal with Greenskins. Hope that helped. Roar!
Subscribe, yes, yes.